Welcome to the Campbells.
It's All Good Podcast.
Welcome to the Campbells. It's All Good Podcast, where our focus is God, healthy marriage, joy, and life. Join us every episode as we share various aspects of healthy relationship goals that we have set for ourselves, provide practical tips for creating the healthy marriage we desire, and how we live life together in God ordained joy. Jesus, others, yourself.
Hey, everybody, welcome to episode number 11.
Hey everybody, it's Linnea.
And of course, I'm Brian. So, today we're going to talk about perimenopause and how your husband can support you. Now, fellas, I wish I had the golden ticket to tell you how we're going to get through this. Unfortunately, I do not. But I think we're going to just kind of have a good conversation about some of the things that we've seen, some of the things we've experienced, and just some of the responses that kind of go on. So we're just going to have a pretty good conversation, I believe.
Yes, and let me give this disclaimer that neither Brian or I have MD behind our names, but what we do have is the information that I share with Brian, information that we've either read or seen, maybe some type of show about that focuses on perimenopause. So, first, I want to give some statistics here. So, this is from PubMed Central. Perimenopause typically begins around the mid 40s. It can last an average of 4 to 10 years before menopause starts. And ladies, if you have spoken with your doctor, you know what that takes to get to what's considered menopause. So I'm not going to say that here on the podcast, but please consult your doctors. There are many different types of symptoms associated with it. And the statistic that I found most interesting was that up to 80% of women experience symptoms, so it's not 100%. 94% of women never get educated in school about perimenopause or menopause, and I know I can attest to that. I probably heard more menopause than anything. I'm thinking perimenopause is a new term, maybe in the last 10 to 15 years. Many women feel unprepared about perimenopause and menopause, and many women have been misdiagnosed and also just told that they're just getting older. So, we want to talk about some of these things because I know myself is affected by perimenopause, some of my friends, family members, and that word, I hear it all the time now. I can't, when I think back to like my mom when she was my age, my grandmother, things like that, my aunts, I don't remember them ever mentioning perimenopause. Menopause, yes, but never peri.
And so it's interesting, some of you may know I'm a medical provider in the military, non licensed, again, not a medical doctor, not a PA or anything like that. But so we're basically taught, do the best we can as far as treating of the symptoms. But typically for those cases, we would refer them over to a medical doctor to manage that for them and to do the things that they possibly need to have done. So as we kind of go through this, it's important for us as a husband, for men, whatever. We need to try and understand what she's telling us. Understand what your wife is telling you, and how they feel and how things are going for them,
Yeah.
and then trying to be supportive and also trying to somewhat relate to what they're telling us. And again, it's all about being supportive to your spouse.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because you never know when your spouse, your husband, might have to be your voice for you. I know a lot of times, and Brian and I do this for both each other. We go to appointments for with each other, and I think that's a great habit. If you can have that time to take off to go with your spouse to certain appointments, even when nothing's wrong. It's just that you're going for that extra moral support and just to be in the know of what's going on with your spouse. And so, again, perimenopause is a term that is very new to me. I started to experience symptoms when I turned 40. And I knew that I possibly might have some symptoms early because my own mother, she went through menopause very early because she had my youngest brother later in life. And then she did have to have a hysterectomy, which caused her to enter menopause a lot younger. And so I never had those things, having a child later in life or having a hysterectomy, but I definitely feel that I got perimenopause, or was told that I had was entering perimenopause earlier than maybe even some of my peers. And so when I think about just the changes, sometimes I feel like things happen abruptly. Sometimes I think things have increased over the years. And I definitely see the change now from 40 to 6 years later, how my body has changed, just the way that I maneuver at certain times of the month, things like that. And I'll talk to Brian about it. And a lot of times he notices these things about me. I think because number one, he does work in the medical field. And then number two, I think just because he's so attentive. And so he will point things out of how he notices a difference in me. And so, I like the fact that he pays attention to me in that aspect, because sometimes I might not even notice certain things myself.
Yeah, and the things that I can particularly pick up on sometimes, and this is no dig at Lanier at all, so please don't take it that way. But sometimes there are attitude changes. I notice like her emotions will change and shift, and I can kind of tell, I can just kind of put on the calendar where around the time of the month things like that are going to shift for her,
Hmm.
as well as physical changes. One day this is a little hurt and sore, the next day it feels fine for her. So just listening to her as she
Yeah.
talk about things that are going on with her body, and then how we sit down and have a conversation, and we just kind of relate it to where she's at in her cycle as a woman.
Yeah, because the biggest thing that I think that we talk about when it comes to that is that I'm not over exaggerating what I'm dealing with. We nicknamed perimenopause Perry. So if you hear me say Perry, we have given him the name because I rather refer to him as a him. But Perry has definitely come into my life and shifted some things. I know when I have talking to some friends and family members, we will have things that are super relatable where we're enduring the same thing. We're giving each other little tricks and trades to try, just to do some things that might help us along the way. So I definitely don't feel alone in this journey, and it's great to know that my friends and family members, that they are supportive and that they understand. But it's also just an added bonus to know that my husband takes an interest in what's going on with me, because like Brian said, he will pick up when there's physical changes, emotional changes with me, and he's pretty much spot on. So I love that.
So, we're going to go ahead and get into a couple of the points that we would like to make. So, obviously, again, I'm in the medical field. So, I don't, it's not like I need medicine for everything, but there are certain things, if I cough so many times, so many days in a row, and if I'm maybe possibly short of breath or something, I'm going to the doctor. I need to get ahead of things before they get worse. Because I know for me, when I treat medicine, outside of just the common little things, I'm always thinking, what is the worst thing that this patient can have? And if I take care and I address the worst thing, everything up until that point should be taken care of, because my focus was what is the worst thing that they can possibly have. So one of the things that Lania and I somewhat possibly disagree on just a little bit of how we go about it
Hmm.
is different treatment ways. So I definitely supportive of medications. She is more holistic, so that also oftentimes leads to a good conversation, because she'll read and study something, or she'll find something that kind of addresses the things that she's talking about, and it's more holistic. And then there I am, kind of semi frustrated, like, well, if you go and get this, then this will take care of that, and then we can all move on. So, but again, I respect who she is as a person, and I respect her. So, what she chooses to do for herself, I just respect that.
Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing I could say, not just one thing, but another thing I can say about Brian, because he is a respecter of um, women and their bodies. So what I feel as a woman and how I want to treat my body for whatever that I might be dealing with, or just want to try new to help my body, to be a better body for myself, he's gonna always support me on that. And so when it comes to holistic treatments, what I deem holistic is things that can be treated naturally. So that could just be by the foods that I eat, by increasing my water and lessening any drinks that maybe have lots of sugar in them. I like to garden, so growing certain herbs and foods and things that don't have a lot of pesticides, things like that, that are organic. I like things that burning certain types of candles with certain scents, using essential oils, all those things that would be deemed coming from the earth, the land, things that I can grow myself or just change certain habits. I'm not a big medication girly, and nothing against medication to anybody who needs to take medications. I know with perimenopause and menopause, a lot of women are on hormone replacement therapies and different things like that. So I totally support that, whatever you need for your body. But as for Linnea and Linnea's body, I prefer to do lots of different things. So as I've gone through this, like I said, the symptoms that I would deem to be the greatest for me, where I've seen a change just in the past 6 years, has definitely been my sleep patterns, and definitely has been dealing with weight. And so I could exercise, change my food and eating habits and things like that, and I could lose very quickly. I would say just a few years ago when I first met Brian, I was down 20 pounds. And so I became a vegan. I was definitely watching what I ate. I was working out up to 6 days a week. I was putting myself to the challenge. And so I did lose the, the, the biggest amount of weight that I feel like that I've lost in adulthood. When I think of my sleep, I used to be a person who could sleep through the night for 8 to 9 hours easily. Now I use like a sleep app sometimes or different things to measure my sleep. And so on average, I'm getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep. And so I know that that's the big difference. And the biggest thing is through the night, and I know ladies, you can attest to this, is the body temperature. I'm going from hot to cold, cold to hot, fans on, air conditioning, all these types of things, and still sometimes will wake up in the middle of the night like I just took like a 30-minute nap and now I'm ready to play like basketball, like full court.
And that's my job. So I'm that guy that's getting up at night. We got to turn on the ceiling fan. We got to reposition the fan that's in the room. We got to turn the air conditioner down. And then 10 minutes later, oh my God, get me a blanket because it's freezing in here.
Yes.
And I'm looking like, well, I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to do at this point. Never mind, I got a skull cap on and everything because I'm
Head
freezing.
covered with the
My
blanket.
head, I'm covered up head to toe, and it's just like I'm freezing, but she's hot, and so we're just adjusting things to her at this point, and I'm just making it do what it do, and just I'll grab an extra blanket if need be, or she'll be like, "Babe, you're out from under the cover." It'd be like, "Well, okay, now you're cold and I'm hot," so it's
I'm
just like
so
it goes
sorry.
back and forth, but it
It
gets really
does.
really funny.
It does. And God bless you, Brian, because I know, this is a change for me as well as a change for you, because us getting married and now we're sleeping in the same bed where, I only had a few years where I was sleeping in the bed by myself so I could sleep how I wanted to sleep, right? But now you got somebody else. So, I don't want to inconvenience Brian, but for lack of better terms, I'm going through
Yeah, and her
it.
body heat and my body heat. I don't say it out loud, but I be thinking to myself, man, if she don't just move over, I just need a little bit of space.
And
Let
I'm
some
like,
air get in between us. And she's like, no, 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 I need to snuggle up against you because you're warm. And I'm like, but I'm too hot.
well, maybe this is why Ma and Pa of old had two separate beds, and then they pushed them together
Now, we
when
ain't
they
going
needed
that far
to.
now. It's just not that bad. We
I
not
know
going
that's
there.
right. I know that's right. But this Perry has come into my life, and I feel like I think I was joking with you not too long ago. I said I feel like I got me a little side piece, Perry, my little side piece, because he comes through, and I just sometimes I completely change, and I'll just jokingly say Perry is kicking my tail, and so I mean. There's so many things, like I said, going the holistic route, even with the sleep. I will share this with anybody. It's one of the things that I've been doing. So I have learned, and I follow a lot of different holistic people on Instagram, where you can get some coconut water, some lime juice, and some tart cherry juice. Drink that an hour before you get ready to go to sleep. You can also do I know a lot of people like melatonin, things like that, little sleep aids. And when you do that, take that time within that hour to kind of just decompress. I'm not 100% good at that because I will still have the TV on, but a lot of times I will be reading, whether it's my Bible or a book that I'm reading, and take that time to just wind down for that hour so that you can truly get your mind settled down. It's not engaged with so much noise and sound from the TV or radio. And I have noticed when I've done that on those days that I've gotten much better sleep and I've slept a lot longer. And many times I've slept until my alarm went off. So that would be one thing that I would just put out there for somebody who wanted to try something when it came to the sleep part. When it comes to just the emotions and things like that, I just think those are things that are just out of my control right now. I'm trying to figure those things out. So, of course, when I feel emotional, if I need to cry, I will have a good cry. If I just need to be quiet and breathe and just be in a quiet space, I will do that. If I need to take a drive to one of my favorite places, I love being near the water and things like that. I will take that drive just so I can clear my mind, just kind of calm myself down, because it's not necessarily anything wrong. It's just me going through perimenopause. And I had to understand that and accept that, because our bodies are just changing. And it's just like when you've experienced pregnancy, how your body changes over those 9 to 10 months that you're pregnant with your child. And it's very similar in that aspect because you are thinking things, your body is moving in ways that you never had and growing in ways when you're pregnant. So here it's similar, a little bit opposite in the sense of you're no longer having the baby part, but it's like your body telling you that you're no longer going to be in that space to have a baby in a way. And then also just the emotion part of it, and then just the way you have to tackle it different than you did in your younger years. I would never want to have gone to the doctor and I'm trying to explain this to my physician and they tell me, oh, you're just getting older. Because to me, that's not empathetic. That's kind of brushing me off. But I thank God that I've had some good physicians over the years who have talked me through it and made me understand. They listened to my family history and made some changes for me and asked me, was I okay with those things? And then also just the research, like Brian was saying, that I do on my own so that I can try to do things holistically. Now, if it got to the point where I needed to take some hormone replacement therapy and things like that, then I definitely would inquire about that because I want to make sure I'm the best me. I want to make sure that I'm here a long time and that I can conquer perimenopause and as I head into menopause.
So again, Lania gave an example of some of the things that she's doing and some of her research and whatnot. But again, the first step is talk to your physician, talk to your doctor,
Yes.
talk to someone that can help you in that situation and develop what works best for you. She's just talking about things that she has found to be successful or somewhat help her kind of aid in her
Yeah,
situation as well.
definitely. Definitely.
So then we're gonna kind of shift. For me, I'll kind of take this as a lighter part of this conversation, fellas. She talks about it all the time. Everything is Perry, and I'm like, everything can be Perry. Now,
Yes, it
if you
is.
frustrated about this, that, and the third, not all that's Perry. Some of this got to be Lydia.
Perry and I go together real bad.
So it's that's also one of our laughs that we have because if I say something or whatever, she says something, and I be like, "Hey, what's going on with this?" Well, I got Perry, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, time out. That's not Perry. I don't know if I believe all of that." So it just turns into definitely um, a lot another laugh and another
It
good
does.
conversation.
It does. But I really want this season as I go through perimenopause and then eventually shifting into menopause. I just always want to be encouraged and I want to encourage others because it's difficult sometimes when your body's changing. All of us have body changes from the time that we were born, right? And so I know we women go through a lot more body changes because of the fact that we carry children, we birth children, and then we have the after effects of having those children and just being women in general, whether you had children or not. And so again, like I said, I'm so grateful that I have been encouraged. by other friends, family members, the physician, excuse me, that I have been blessed to have as my doctors, because I've never had a physician that just kind of just said, "Here, take this, bye." I've had physicians who would really be in the trenches with me to make me understand my bodies. I've had some praying physicians, which is very rare, but God is good, and He has sent me those women my way to do that with me and to care for me as their patient. So, like I said, I just want to leave with some encouragement. So, when I think of perimenopause, I wanted to relay some scriptures to it. And so I found some of these scriptures that offer encouragement for just fatigue because you're tired all the time, if that's one of your symptoms. Anxiety. I know many women have shared that I've read and seen that they get a lot more anxious in their 40s and 50s and up. The physical changes, like I said, with maybe losing too much weight, maybe gaining too much weight, and trying to find that middle, that medium. Just knowing that God is going to give us the strength to get through perimenopause and menopause. His grace is always sufficient, and He's always present during these life transitions. So, the first scripture I want to focus on is Isaiah 40:29 through 31, and that focuses on renewed strength. It says, He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. The second verse I want to leave you with is Corinthians 12:9. Grace in weakness. My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. And then the last scripture I want to leave you with is Philippians 4:6 through 7. And that's focusing on anxiety. And so it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, present your request to God, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds." So, ladies, as we navigate through perimenopause and menopause, I know it brings up new things that we may have never experienced before. It may bring some challenges, it may bring some joys too. So, whatever it may be for you, just be encouraged in the Lord. Share with other women, talk to your physicians, and just know how much God loves you. He loves us as women, and He created us for a purpose. And even if it's through perimenopause and menopause that we are able to help somebody else, then let's just do that. Let's be a vessel for Him through the things that we go through. Alrighty, guys. Well, we thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next time. And remember, it's the Campbells.
It's
It's
all
all good.
good.